Good evening and welcome to the June 10th, 2025 meeting of the East Longmeadow Town Council. I'll call the meeting to order and ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I would ask that we take a brief moment of silence to reflect. Thank you. In accordance with Mass General Law, this meeting is being recorded by LCAT, and if there's anyone else in the audience, if you could identify yourself. All right. Seeing none, public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment this evening? Okay, seeing none. Council comments. The only council comment that I have is, and I won't steal all the election update thunder from Jeannie, but just congratulations to all of those, the councilors that got reelected and the school committee members. And I mean, also too, congratulations to Carolyn for running a campaign. It was a lot of work for everyone involved, and it's good to see the voters turn out. Any other council comments?
Yes. I had the pleasure on Sunday of attending an Eagle Scout event over in Longmeadow, and one of East Longmeadow's residents, Lucas Kotomsky, became an Eagle Scout, and Senator Oliveira was there and myself, and a very, very nice event. I was pleased to be able to congratulate him on behalf of the East Longmeadow Town Council. So thank you.
That's great. Any other council comments? Seeing none, town manager's report. Hi, Tom.
Good evening. How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Attached the reports for the weeks of May 19th and 27th for the new high school and auditorium. So that's report number 49 and 50 for the high school if you're scoring at home, which means we're getting close to a full year of reports from our project manager. So it's pretty exciting. Much like Connor, I don't want to steal all Jeannie's thunder about the election, but I will express my congratulations to Kathy and Ralph and Anna on getting reelected. I attached an engineering memorandum from VHB regarding the extension of the rail trail from Maple to Westwood. So this is a conceptual design made possible by a Mass Trails grant. So aimed at, enhancing connectivity and expanding the rail trail, which is, one of our most popular recreational assets. So now we're going to shift our focus to sort of a final design, permitting, which there'll be a lot of. There's some wetlands back there, and then eventual construction of the project. We're also in the process of putting finishing touches on the design of Heritage Park. Part of the process, the Blackman Pond will be dredged and cleaned, possibly regraded. So there was MEPA, the Mass Environmental Policy Act. Their office is conducting a hearing actually right now via Zoom with DPW and the design team, which is they handle a lot of environmental issues that they may have jurisdiction in, a lot of pond dredging. Really, I had to look up MEPA. I've had any work with them before. So Bruce is in that meeting right now with our design team. That's the public flyer that I gave you was notification for that hearing to let everybody know. The new Westcom building on Shawinigan Drive in Chicopee is nearing completion. That's very exciting as well. The new state-of-the-art facility will enhance operations into the 21st century and provide Westcom the opportunity to welcome new communities to the district. I gave you the flyer, a ribbon cutting ceremony scheduled for July 14th at 10 a.m. On site to mark this occasion. Some DPW updates, water main project underway on Kingman Ave neighborhood, 3,650 square feet, 3,650 feet. We have line striping underway around town. God bless you. Crack sealing and paving projects under contract and set to begin shortly. DPW has done a lot of work on catch basin and drain line repairs on Summers Road and Prospect Street in advance of the paving by Mass DOT. That should offset some of the costs that DOT was supposedly going to spend on our behalf that we may be able to use elsewhere. I met with Bruce today. Next Wednesday, they have their scoping session with Mass DOT to figure out the exact scope of both of those projects. So that's really exciting as well. A lot of radar speed limit signs been installed, RRFB and crosswalk installations. The Chestnut Street Pump Station from the Mass Works grant is under contract. They should be underway soon. Townwide street sweeping and prep for July 4th has begun. Just to name a few. I also forwarded you an email that I got today from VHP, the 10% design for the TIP project out here. So that process, obviously, there's a lot of design and redesign and review and re-review and redesign. And so 10% is just the start, but we get the first look at what DOT thinks is going to be our final layout. So mostly just want to give a shout out to Public Works. They do so much for our community. Obviously, I didn't name half the projects they told me to mention, but we have a public hearing at 6:15, so I didn't want to go too far. But thank you to the DPW. And finally, without further ado, we're going to try this again and introduce our Deputy Fire Chief, Ed Linehan. Please come up.
Serving the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Short and sweet. Love it. Love it. That's all I have for this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Does anyone have any questions for Tom?
I do.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna make them short and sweet, though.
Good job, Ed.
The Mass Trails, are we looking at a trail grant for the actual construction of
Yes.
that? Through the rec department, is it, or DPW?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume Rebecca will be doing most of the work on the grant writing, but yeah, we'll have input on this design from DPW and rec too. Yeah.
Okay, because I know when we did the first initial section of the rail trail, we received a grant for it.
So word is there's a lot of money in the trails grant fund block, because I think a lot of people are done their trails, and so we're hoping that we have a good project. Like you said, we're extending the rail trail, so that seems like we'll have plenty of boxes checked. So that's the plan. Yes.
Second question, Heritage Park. I remember we authorized money for the design phase of it, which I believe this is part of it. Has any funding been looked into as far as grants or anything to actually do the construction? And I know we're going through MIPA as far as for dredging the pond.
Yep.
But to my knowledge, we haven't approved any funds to actually do the work yet.
No, and we're still in that plan to wait until this corridor has been reconstructed. So we just want to get the design and that permitting piece done, because the MIPA comments and ultimately, I forgot to mention, tomorrow night is Concom. So we want to incorporate whatever comments those two bodies have into the final design, and then we're good to go. So the design work is almost done. We'll have a considerable amount of money that we can send back to CPC that was unused funding for this design. But the design's like 90% done. We just need these last couple pieces of the regulatory bodies to tell us what we can and can't do, or what we should or shouldn't do. And then the design will be done.
Yeah.
But as far as funding the project construction, no, there's been Bruce, as part of our conversation today, he's had a few conversations about grant funding for that project as well. That seems like we have a couple good leads on. So that project obviously is going to have a hefty price tag. So all the grant funding we can get will certainly help for that.
Yeah, the only reason I asked about it is I know like through Concom, wetlands delineations are only good for a certain length of time.
Right.
And I would hate for us to get it all done now.
Yep.
And then, hey, the grant doesn't come through for 3 years and then we have to do it all again because they were only good for 2. And
Right.
yeah, that was my only thought process on it.
Okay.
The last item I have, and it's not in your report, but I just, quite a few residents have commented to me about Chestnut Street. The steep part of the hill
Okay.
is so bad. Literally you go up there, if you're in a trailer or whatever, you're gonna lose half your stuff out of the trailer.
Okay.
And
Coming
I
down-
didn't
coming
believe them.
down.
I thought they were overdoing it until I drove up there.
Okay.
It's something that if we have any leftover asphalt somewhere,
It grows on trees.
or if they want to do Summers Road or Prospect Street and they wanted to come down the hill a few feet.
Okay.
I just figured I would mention it. I'm sure the residents will be happy if they watch the meeting knowing that I mentioned it too.
Yeah, no, we can look into that. We spent a lot of time on the drainage on the side of that road last fall. So I will bring that up to Bruce.
I'm done.
Thanks, Ralph.
I tried to make it as quick as I could.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
The only question that I have, Tom, in your last paragraph where you said RRFB, what does that stand for?
Oh, rectangular rapid flash beacon. That's
Oh, okay.
at the crosswalks, the lights that
I
are,
Googled it.
sorry. I feel like I've mentioned that, but you guys don't get all my acronyms yet? Yeah, so that's one of those
Great.
flashy thingies at the crosswalk. I'll put that next.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we can move to communications, correspondence, and announcements. The election update.
Thunder.
Stolen. But I do have a few more things to report. So for the council seats, Ralph Page, Anna Jones, and Kathy Hill were reelected to their seats. And for the school committee, Amy DeLent and Antonella Rochella Manzi were reelected to their seats. Brother, who was on the ballot to serve the remaining 1 year of the vacancy that he fulfilled, his seat. 10% turnout. I don't know if I just said that. And the charter amendment question, yes votes were 631, no votes were 658. So it lost by 27 votes. And it was interesting because our hands were tied legally as to how much we could advertise the summary of the question. We tried to do our best with the postcard we sent out through the meetings and discussion. But it did lose by 27 votes. And I think there was a lot of confusion. And I heard that there was a group in town, a vote no group, because it was about affordable housing. And if anybody read the question, it didn't even mention that. So I don't know how that evolved. But I talked to a few people that were, so go to the polls and vote no affordable housing. So I'm not sure what happened, but the election went smoothly. And again, the cooperation of my staff and my election workers, the council, town manager, police, IT, custodians, everybody, it just all comes together on election day and everything went smoothly. We got our election results by 8:40 or something like that, which was great. So
Great
that's
job.
about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Were
Great
there
job.
a lot of like mail-in or absentees or anything this time? Or
There
what?
was 58. I think something like 60 sent out and 58 returned, which is a high ratio. Usually we get out like a little over half
Yeah.
back, but we didn't get that big thrust from the state with their postcard they send out to every registered voter for this year. So it was advertised on, Reminder and our website and Facebook, and that you could vote by mail. So
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Thank you for the update and thank you for the hard work that you and your team
thank you
and
for your support. It's appreciated.
the only other announcement that I have is after our last meeting that we had in May, our town manager is now under contract again with the town for another 3 years. So Tom will serve as our town manager through at least June 30th of 2028.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
If it is the council's pleasure, I would entertain a motion to move to new business, the discussion of funding on Veterans Memorial, and then return to our regular order of the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? It is a roll call vote since we are on Zoom. Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
John? And Kathy?
Yes,
Through the chair, I'll just know, is Anna on,
She was just gonna be in the audience, yeah. Okay, thank you. So we have the discussion for the Veterans Memorial funding. Let me just pull that up. So back on April 14th, there was a letter from Terry Glasgow as the chairman of the East Long Meadow Veterans Memorial Committee to our town manager requesting funding for the Veterans Memorial Fund. And as part of that, with the discussions that Tom and I had had, he was unsure about the direction of the overall initiative as far as like the council's funding prerogative would be. So it's on our agenda this evening to discuss it and see how we feel. But of course, if we do actually want to proceed, the town manager would first have to submit like a recommendation to the council for appropriation before the council could appropriate any funds. Since the council can't just decide to appropriate funds on its own without something from the executive branch. That said, I'd be happy if Terry wants to come forward and provide comment.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Terry?
Well, I'll try to be as short and sweet as the deputy fire chief. As you see, the committee here is out in full force, but there's one gentleman absent, so we didn't want to draw him in from vacation. So I prepared some comments tonight. Our Veterans Memorial Committee appreciates the opportunity to appear here this evening. Number one, to inform you that we are approaching the finish line on the Veterans Memorial Project. And two, to request your consideration for financial support in this regard. To support our request, I feel it is appropriate to convey our current financial status and beginning with our expenses up to date. Our initial fundraiser was in October 2018, 7 years ago. Since then, and notwithstanding COVID, which hampered our fundraising efforts, our expenses to date have totaled $174,064, which was spent on architectural fees and design and monument bidding, a complete lighting package alone, which cost $45,036, flags, flagpoles, battle cross, paver bricks, entertainment, hall rentals, and of course, the purchase of a 40-foot trailer to store these items. All these memorial components we have purchased thus far total $98,000 and has already been gifted to the town and stored behind the fire station. On July the 13th, next month, we will have liquid cash, $433,000 in the bank, which includes a CD, which will mature on that date. If one adds our expenses of $174,064 and the $433,000 in the bank, we will have raised $607,064. Now, some may feel this amount should be enough, but if you talk to other communities who have constructed veterans memorials, and with a rising cost of materials and labor, these amounts and more are commonplace. Even with our banked $433,000 on July the 13th, our expenses continue and are ongoing. For instance, we will be spending at least $141,000 for the actual monuments. And currently, $38,000 remains owed to our architect, at least $60,984 owed to our local general contractor, who in turn We'll be soliciting vendors to bid on the construction, labor, electrical work, landscaping, site, concrete work, safety, etc. We also have to purchase 3 benches, flowers, and shrubbery, which should total at least $7,500. These expenses just mentioned total $247,484. And deduct that from the $433,000 we're going to have in the bank, that leaves us approximately $185,516. And out of this amount, we're going to have to pay everything related to the general contractor in terms of everything I mentioned, electrical, landscaping, and so forth. And in conversation with the general contractor and our architect, it is really difficult at this particular time until the general contracting bidding is all over to determine the overall cost. Our architect and general contractor are East Long Meadow businesses, Architectural EL just up the road, and W.J. Quinn, who will manage and supervise all site construction, provide the necessary insurance coverage, permitting, and any site safety measures required, and coordinate with all trade vendors. We are hoping to begin the bidding process sometime within the next 2 weeks. We are just waiting on the electrical engineer involved to finalize all of the lighting specifications since we have changed the footprint. The money we have raised came from virtually all the banks and credit unions in East Long Meadow, and some outside of this community. Also from writing grants, donations from many East Long Meadow businesses, the general public, and from the concerted efforts of Senator Jake Oliveri and State Representatives Brian Ash and Angelo Pupolo in securing funds from both the Massachusetts Senate and House of Representatives. We're also planning upcoming fundraising events, which our next one is going to be August the 17th on a Sunday at East Village Tavern, where we're going to have a dining in for cause. Our projection for breaking ground is this year in late August or early September to prepare the ground, etc., prior to the winter months. A quarry in Barry, Vermont is where our memorial monuments will come from. They are behind at least 6 to 8 months. So once we place the order, it's still going to be 6 to 8, maybe February or March before we get it. Nevertheless, and considering all the expenses and challenges ahead, our target date for total completion is Memorial Day of 2026. You should know that we have reduced the scope of the memorial to a 90 by 90 footprint instead of covering the entire frontage. Recently, I've met with the town planning director who gave us the green light to proceed with the reduced footprint and to secure whatever permits are required. It is the hope that our Veterans Committee this evening has provided the town council a perspective of our financial position and our economic challenges ahead. The financial funding we are requesting from the town council would cover the following: $38,000 for what we owe our architect, $60,984 for our general contractor, and $7,500 for the benches, the flowers, and the shrubbery. This totals $106,484. Additionally, if the town wants to consider it, we have a Battlecross statue for sponsorship or purchase at $11,190. That was our cost. And with the addition of the Battlecross statue, the amount being requested would then be $117,674. Your financial coverage would then allow us to then spend $141,000 for the monuments. And you deduct that from the $433,000, that'll leave us approximately $292,000, which will then be used to cover the expenses for all the trade vendors performing the actual construction work. Overall, in the light of our request, our committee completely understands the budgetary constraints facing the town council. And we sincerely appreciate any financial assistance you consider and you may render to us. Our committee thanks you.
Thank you very much for the update.
Yep.
Very detailed. Any thoughts?
I'm here to answer any questions if you, we'll try anyway.
Does anyone have any
Mr.
questions?
Chair, I was just gonna, I think in the material that we got, that second, after the 38,000 from architectural EL, that second one wasn't in.
Yeah, and that's because probably 2 hours ago, I just got an update from WJ Quint, who actually broke down in detail how that 60,000 and change is arrived at.
Would you be able to share that or maybe?
Yeah, I'll share that.
Tom has a copy of that.
Comments or questions?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say thanks. This has obviously been a long road for the entire committee. We've been in constant contact for, well, ever since I've been deputy town manager, I suppose, maybe even DPW.
Yeah.
At this point, I know, we appreciate the scope change to sort of fit the front yard a little better.
Yes.
And I think it's really gonna come out very, very nice when it's done. And I appreciate this. I've sort of been, like I said, talking with Terry through this whole process about, you know, getting to a point where we can have this conversation, not just, you know, a big check ceremony, so to speak,
Right.
where we can actually have some impact on this final product and what it looks like in the timeline of it. The interesting thing about this is this will become the town of East Long Meadows Memorial Park after it's done. So yes, we're sort of contributing to the process, but after which it's gifted to the town as our memorial, our Veterans Memorial, which I don't have the facts, but I would venture a guess that we're one of the few communities in the Commonwealth that does not have a Veterans Memorial. That's not in the Rotary. Obviously I appreciate all the effort. You have my support. I had a conversation with Terry about this, and the reason we got the updated information was through conversations with the attorney. As you can imagine, there's a lot of legalities that go into a project like this, you know, procurement and things of that nature. And so there's actually some case law for projects like this being accepted by the community, work and material. So there would be sort of a double vote at any point, which would be to appropriate money or get, you know, to the whatever work was actually laid out for us. And again, I appreciate that we got that email so that we could break down the costs so we know what we're spending money on, which was my request from day one, was to have this laid out so you had every little piece of information so you knew what you were appropriating. So again, the second piece would be accepting the memorial work and material as a gift to the town of East Long Meadow. So again, that's sort of I know it's, I saw you smile when I said the procurement thing. We had a lot of these questions that we had to answer. And obviously we had an idea that it was allowed because they accepted money from the state this year to do some of this work. So that's pretty much the background. Again, I thank you for keeping us involved, the town, I mean, as this was always going to be the town's Veterans Memorial. And so I just I appreciate the collaboration and the collegiality and how much you've sort of kept me involved in the process. I just want to say I really appreciate that.
And the committee will continue to
I know,
keep you
I know that. I appreciate that.
in what we know.
I know. I believe me, that it's a big comfort to know that we're all in the loop.
And just to let you all know that the actual monuments at 141,000, we originally wanted to go with what is called India Black, but that was only available from India. But with the tariffs, that would have added another like $42,000. So we found a quarry in Barry, Vermont that has given us a really nice composition of what the stone is actually going to look like. And that's where we're
The
at.
new design is
Yes.
razor sharp. It's amazing. It really,
And our architect has worked very hard.
yes, he is.
I mean, he's diligently doing a lot of things for us that I don't think any other architect might have done, you know. That's good. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for the, and thank you to the whole committee for all that you guys have put in over the last few years to get us to this point. I think now it's a question of timing and how to move forward. So free cash, if we were to receive a suggestion from the town manager to make an appropriation, would freeze on June 30th, at which point we couldn't spend anything in the new fiscal year until free cash is certified, which I think historically has been around September or October.
Right.
So essentially we have one more council meeting left in June. Otherwise, an appropriation would have to wait until early fall.
Right. That's right.
still got till Memorial Day next year. But thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to follow up with you at some point, maybe later in the week. I've got a few questions with regards to the procurement and stuff like that. And
Okay.
if we make a donation, how that works. So,
Sure. Yeah.
but I know we're in a meeting. I want to keep it short. So
He's listening to you, Ken.
Okay, we are now returning to our public hearing from 6:15. It is now 6:36. This is a public hearing for a proposed new bylaw, chapter 412, transparency, and a required second reading. The council members are Jim Lyden, myself, Connor O'Shea, Marilyn Richards, Ralph Gage, John Torsia, and Kathy Hill on Zoom. And I would ask the clerk to read the legal notice into the record.
East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on June 10, 2025 at 6:15 PM in the media room of the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street for a required second reading of a proposed new bylaw, Chapter 412, transparency, that will provide easy access, efficiency, and transparency in locating and viewing all records and contracts regarding employee payroll for the town of East Long Meadow. Public hearing may also be attended via Zoom webinar. Information relating to this bylaw is available for public inspection at the town clerk's office or an electronic version on the town website. For the council, Jean R. Quaglitti, town clerk of the council.
Thank you, Jeannie. So as our second reading, we have chapter 412, transparency. And there are 4 sections to it. Section 412-1, purpose. The purpose of this bylaw is to provide easy access, efficiency, and transparency in locating and viewing all records and contracts regarding wages, compensation, and contracts associated with town and school employees. Section 412-2, applicability. This bylaw covers all town and school employees' wages, stipends, bonuses, and compensation in any form, along with any associated contracts, both union and non-union. Section 412-3, compensation and contracts. A listing of all town and school employees' yearly compensation, including stipends and bonuses, will be listed on the town of East Long Meadow website in a form and location approved by the town council. All union and non-union contracts for town and school employees shall be posted in the same location as the compensation records. Section 412-4, timing of postings. all town and school employees' yearly compensation, including stipends and bonuses, shall be posted by March 1st for the preceding calendar year. All town and school employee contracts, both union and non-union, shall be posted within 30 days of signing. Okay, that is our second reading. Since it is a public hearing, it is an opportunity if anyone in the audience wishes to make a comment at this time. I see no one online or in the public audience, so I will close the public input portion of the hearing. And if there's now any council comments, questions, or concerns.
Did we discuss it all online, the location? Is it the same location as like the open checkbook, or
I
I
think
think we had a transparency
that's a good point.
page or something,
I
didn't we?
suppose I should provide that update too. Since the first time we did the first reading, the council's bylaw subcommittee, not the one created by the charter, but the one that's always been the council, met prior to this meeting, and we had discussed the bylaw. There were a few verbiage changes since the original draft, but it was mostly just using terminology like wages and so forth. And I think at that time we didn't necessarily make an official recommendation about where the location should be, but there was the thought the town already had a transparency tab on the website that could probably be the home for this if the council felt appropriate. I know since then, Tom and I have been talking about the overall website and
Be kind.
It's hard to be.
as a result of the what was that study? I can't think of the name of
Oh, the communication.
Communication.
Yeah.
and how we might, reimagine the town website to have a better usability from the public perspective. So potentially in the future, the council could vote in the future to move that to a different location if we redesign the website. But for now, I think it probably makes sense under transparency.
It's in the first government tab, is the
Yeah.
transparency, so we'll just add whatever we need to add underneath it.
I don't know if that has to be a separate vote after we approve the bylaw.
We probably
It says
should.
for town council.
We probably should to be safe. Any other council comments or questions? If there's none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes,
Okay, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the proposed new bylaw, chapter 412, transparency as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the bylaw. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes,
Ralph?
Yes.
John?
I'm a yes.
And Kathy?
yes,
Bylaw is approved.
All right.
And then, I guess to be safe, I'll entertain a motion about the form and location posting on the website.
I move that we post the new transparency bylaw under the transparency tab on the town's website.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
yes,
Ralph?
Yes.
And Kathy?
yes,
I think, great suggestion.
Perfect. Two things done with that. We have no licensing matters or financial matters. So next we have approval of the May 27th open session minutes.
I make a motion to approve the May 27th, 2025 open session minutes.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
abstain,
Ralph?
Yes.
And Kathy?
yes,
Okay, the motion passes. And then approving the May 27th executive session minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 27th, 2025 executive session minutes.
second,
Motion's been made, seconded, and thirded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
abstain,
Ralph?
Yes.
And Kathy?
yes,
Great. Thank you all. We have no old business. Then tonight under new business, our first matter is a proposed bylaw amendment, chapter 500 fee, fine and penalty schedule for a first reading. And the background context for anyone in the public for this is on a yearly basis, now that the fee, fine, and penalty schedule includes things that were approved and appropriated in the budget, which we just did at the budget public hearing in May, we now need to update chapter 500 to include those things as well. Those we really can't say no to since they're already part of the budget, but there could be other suggested changes as well from the town manager and his department. So that being said, is there anyone that would like to start us off with?
Certainly. I'd love to read.
So thank you, Ralph.
So we're just gonna hit the changes
changes.
Throughout it. So under chapter 500, fee, fine, and penalty schedule, we are going to be adding subsection 500-4, collector, treasurer, department, fees, fines, and penalties. And then we actually are changing the current 500-4 to now 500-5, which is the Council of Aging fees, fines, and penalties. We will be changing the numbering of 500-5 will now become 500-12, which is the Public Works Department fees, fines, and penalties. I believe we did that for alphabetical order because it was the department. That's why it's moving from 5 to 12. Then we're adding subsection 500-13, which is Recreation Department fees, fines, and penalties. We are changing subsection 500-12 will now become subsection 500-14, which will be the town clerk fees, fines, and penalties. And then empty pages. This is great.
Yeah.
The next, I have it as page 6. We are adding, like I said, subsection 500-4. It used to be the Council of Aging. It will now 500-4 is the collector, treasurer, department fees, fines, and penalties. And again, subsection 500-4 will now be 500-5, which is the Council of Aging fees, fines, and penalties. Next,
Excuse me, Ralph, is it
Yes.
4.5 or is it 5?
5. I think the 4 was supposed to be strike through.
Oh.
It is.
4 is supposed to be a strike.
The strike through is.
It's the part of the 4, yeah.
Thank you.
The next page, subsection 500-5 will now be relocated to subsection 500-12, which is the Public Works Department fees, fines, and penalties. And then, well, that'll be 500-12, the Public Works Department fees, fines, and penalties. We will be changing the engineering inspection rate, which is a 2-hour minimum. It was $50. It will be increased to $75 per hour plus IRS standard rate mileage. And then under the same 500-5, under the cost of area being disturbed, which is the life cycle maintenance cost, LCMC. The current unit cost is $4 per square foot. That will now be $16 per square foot. The 5-year roadway moratorium fee, less than 1 year old, the cost was $2,500. It is now $3,000. Between 1 and 2 years old, the cost was $2,000. It is now $2,500. Between 2 and 3 years old, the cost was $1,500. It's now $2,000. Between 3 and 4 years old, the cost was $1,000. Is now $1,500. And then between 4 and 5 years old, the cost was $500. The proposal is now $1,000. On the next page, which is 500-5E, transfer station fees, We are looking to add mattress, $30. So question, Connor, right up above it, we have a fee of $15 per item, which is mattress. So are we under bulk item?
Oh, good catch.
So instead of adding mattress, we're gonna change that fee up above from 15 to 30, correct?
That's a
Yeah,
mistake by the author.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I couldn't find it, and so I added it there.
Okay.
It was buried in there. Sorry.
So that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that
under
makes sense.
bulk items, we have currently a $15 per item fee for mattress / box spring. That will be increased to $30 from the 15. And then under 500-5, F, water service fees. We have illegal hookup to water was $500. The proposal is now $1,000. And then under 500-5G is water, sewer, and stormwater rates. The water standard rate was $4.40 per 100 cubic feet. It is now $4.60 per 100 cubic feet. Water agricultural rate was $3.30 per 100 cubic feet. It is now $3.45 per 100 cubic feet. The sewer rate was $4.74 per 100 cubic feet. It is now $4.84 per 100 cubic feet. Anyone want to do stormwater?
Land use code 101, single family homes from $47 to $49. Land use code 102, residential condos billable from $47 to $49. Land use code 109, two homes on a single parcel from $57 to $59. 104, two family homes from $97 to $101. 105, three family homes from $97 to $101. Land use code 111, 48 unit apartment from $97 to $101. Land use code 112, apartments greater than 8 units from $525 to $546. Land use code 125, congregate living facilities from $525 to $546. Less than an acre impervious surface equals $200. Is now from $215 to $224. Greater than an acre, less than 2 acres, impervious surface, $250 equals $250 per acre is going from $265 to $276. Greater than 2 acres, less than 5 acres, impervious surface equals $350 per acre is going from $365 to $380. Greater than 5 acres, but less than 10 acres, impervious surface equals $450 per acre is going from $465 to $484. Greater than 10 acres, impervious surface equals $550 per acre. It's going from $565 to $588. FY 24-25 stormwater enterprise rates. Land use code less than 1 acre impervious surface equals $200, going from $215 to $224. Less than an acre, greater than 2 acres. Am I reading that right? Greater than an acre, less than 2 acres equals $250 per acre, going from $265 to $276. Greater than 2 acres, less than 5 acres impervious surface, $350 per acre is going from $365 to $380. Greater than 5 acres, less than 10 acres impervious surface equals $450 per acre is going from $465 to $484. Greater than 10 acres impervious surface equals $550 per acre is going from $565 to $588. Land use code 343 commercial condos. Greater than 1 acre impervious surface equals $200, going from $215 to $224. Greater than 1 acre, less than 2 acres, impervious surface equals $250 per acre is going from 265 to 276. Greater than 2 acres, less than 5 acres, impervious surface equals $350 per acre, going from $365 to $380 per acre. Greater than 5 acres, less than 10 acres, impervious surface equals $450 per acre. Going to from $465 to $484. Greater than 10 acres, impervious surface equals $550 per acre is going from $565 to $588.
So through the chair, before we go any further, like the $200, $250 per acre, $350 per acre, I think those were the numbers that were originally the fees that were supposed to be changed.
Yes.
So when we do this, all those numbers are gonna have to come out of there if we're gonna do a separate column for the stormwater fee. Cause it makes no sense, 550 per acre, 588.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's gonna go, well,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what's the actual fee?
You let me read all that first, Ralph?
Well, I had to double check in the good book, so. But again, I think that's
Yeah.
something we'll address, when Jim finishes the next 5 pages.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, no, I was just looking that up too on what was currently published, and we have both numbers.
I think.
Yeah, so I think originally-
Last time
We
we
did,
updated.
We did.
So. My mistake. We're gonna take FY 25 right out of the title too, so we don't forget to change that every year.
Yeah.
Just say stormwater enterprise rates.
Right.
I'll continue on.
Sorry, yes,
Under description, farm,
please do.
$57 to $79. Agricultural, nothing there. Mixed use parcels from $75 to $78. I will not read the dollar amounts here. Less than an acre impervious surface to striking 215, going to 224. Greater than an acre, less than 2 acres, striking $265 to $276. Less than 2 acres, excuse me, greater than 2 acres, less than 5 acres impervious surface, striking $365, going to $380. Greater than 5 acres, less than 10 acres, striking $465 to $484. Greater than 10 acres impervious surface, striking $565, going to $588. Exempt partials, residential from 57 to 59. Exempt parcels, residential vacant, striking 47, now 49. Less than an acre, excuse me, greater than an acre impervious surface, striking $215 to $224. Greater than an acre, less than 2 acres, impervious surface, striking $265 to $276. Greater than 2 acres, less than 5 acres, striking $365, going to $380. Greater than 5 acres, less than 10 acres, striking $465, going to $484. Greater than 10 acres, impervious surface, striking $565 to $588. Golf course, striking $565, going to $588. FY 25 stormwater enterprise rates, land use codes 016, 117, and 18, mixed residential from striking 75 to 78. Towers, striking 125, going to 130. Vacant industrial, striking $47, going to 49. Subsection 500-6, fire department fees and fines, penalties. Ambulance service, BLS emergency and non-emergency transport, striking $1,349.04 to $1,403. BLS emergency transport Medicare, striking $456.19 to $467.14. BLS non-emergency Medicare, striking $285.11 to $291.96. ALS 1 emergency non-emergency transport, striking $2,155.77 to $2,242.07. We have an extra zero there.
With an extra.
Yeah.
ALS 1 emergency transport Medicare, striking $541.72 to $554.73. ALS 1 non-emergency transport Medicare, striking $342.15 to $350.35. ALS two emergency transport, striking $3,244.63 to $3,374.42. ALS two emergency transport Medicare, $784, striking $784.08, moving to $802.89. Mileage per mile, striking $36.40, going to $37.86. Mileage per mile, Medicare, striking $8.80, going to $9. Adding intercept fee, $312. Subsection 500-8 library fees, fines and penalties, striking replacement library cards and striking $2. Subsection 500-9 local licensing authority fees, fines and penalties. Under restaurant, all alcoholic beverages on premises, striking $2,200, going to $2,420. Restaurant beer, wine on premises, striking $1,000 to $1,100. Package store, all alcoholic beverages off premises, striking $2,200, going to $2,420. Package store, beer, wine off premises, striking $1,000, going to $1,100. Farmer Series pouring permit, striking $500, going to $550. Club license, striking $650, going to $715. Veterans Club license, striking $650, going to $715. Additions, application fees, new retail liquor license, $100. Transfer retail liquor license, $100. Under subsection 500-10, under C, zoning board of appeals, administrative appeals, striking, just striking plus $2 per abutter notice. Subsection 500-12 is being relatable to subsection 500-14.
Then we've got the renumbered 500-4 to now be collector treasurer departments, fees, fine and penalties, which these were not previously included. So we have advertisement fee. The fee is cost thereof, reference MGL chapter 60, section 15. Betterment release, $4, MGL chapter 80, section 12. Certificate of redemption recording fee, $105 as per Hampden County Registry of Deeds. Demand fee, $20, MGL chapter 60, section 15. Instrument of taking recording fee, $105 as per Hampden County Registry of Deeds. Municipal lien certificates, $50, MGL chapter 60, section 23. Post public notice, $5, MGL chapter 60, section 15. Prepare advertisement, $10, MGL chapter 60, section 15. Prepare instrument of taking, $10, MGL chapter 60, section 15. Returned payment fee, $25, MGL chapter 60, section 57A. Warrant fee, $10, MGL chapter 60, section 15. Online telephone payment fees and Unipay. Check is 50 cents. Visa debit card is $3.95. Credit cards, online or phone, fee assessed on a per transaction basis. And we have section 500-13 recreation fees, fines and penalties. We have Little Red Schoolhouse birthday for $50 per 4 hours. Little Red Schoolhouse classroom rental, $50 per 4 hours plus % per student charge. Community Gardens full plot, $35. Community Gardens half plot, $20. Pine Knoll Birch Hall, $55 per hour resident, $70 an hour non-resident. Pine Knoll Pine Lodge, $55 an hour resident, $70 an hour non-resident. Pine Knoll Grass Picnic Area, $45 an hour resident and $60 an hour non-resident. And then under Article 2, liquor license rules, regulations, and fees.
So through the chair,
Sure.
this is chapter 310-5, but our agenda is only for chapter 500. So what I would suggest is possibly having a recommendation first from the subcommittee. I think we've done it in the past where they look at the fee fine schedule and then they say, hey, we should also change this. And that way there, because this isn't on the agenda, we don't get in any trouble that way.
Sure.
Plus, you don't have to read.
All right.
I have a quick question,
Sure.
please. Now I have to find it. Little Red Schoolhouse, classroom rental, $50 per 4 hours plus percentage student charge. Now, is that the instructor's payment for such? I mean, they're paying the town $50 for 4 hours, but where is, what percentage student charge are we talking about? 2%, 5%?
I would have to confirm with Donna.
Okay,
My guess is, if they're charging and sort of using our property as an entrepreneur
right.
opportunity, that we would
Benefit from it.
benefit.
Okay.
I
just
have to
wasn't sure.
I will double check.
All right.
That's what I'm suspecting. And because we've had this conversation before about things on town property that seem fine, that if people are going to make a profit,
Right.
that, you know, maybe that's something we should look into charging for.
I agree with that. I was just curious about, the amount of percentage.
Yeah, no, and again, I'd have to check with Donna and make sure I have that for the subcommittee, because I'm not sure offhand, Marilyn.
All right. Appreciate that. Thank you.
And so I have a couple.
Sure.
So I've got it on page 17. It's section 500-10. We removed the plus $2 per abutter notice from the zoning board of appeals. Was there any specific reason for that? Because I notice up above under special permit, site plan, preliminary subdivision, we're still charging $2 per abutter notice. So
Right.
if we're charging for abutter notices, shouldn't it be whenever?
So those are for the, again, I will check with Rob, of course. I think his rationale was the $2 per abutter notice was to the applicant, whereas an administrative appeal doesn't necessarily, if I appeal it and then you have to send out notification, you're getting charged to send out those notifications for the appeal.
So when I personally had a site plan done,
Yep,
I actually sent out the abutter
Correct.
notices.
yep,
And the reason for this fee was to cover the mailing cost.
yep.
But I had already done it and paid for
So-
it, so why? I mean, if the applicant has to do it, I mean, I had Levesque Associates do it, they requested on a butter list.
Yep.
And then we send out the notices and give proof that we did.
Okay.
Why is the town charging to send them out to cover their postage when there is no postage?
And that's a good question, maybe.
And that's why I was
Left it off the
thinking
planning
maybe he
thing.
was looking to remove it on all of them.
Yep,
Because now it's a fee that the applicant takes care of.
and that was part of the notification, was if you had changes that you thought would make
Yep.
sense to your department, you know, be
Yeah.
prepared to come in and explain yourself, yeah. So, yes, you can look into that as well.
And then I just have one other item, 500-5, which is the roadway, breaking into it and all. Right at the bottom, it says the DPW reserves the right to waive the LCMC or moratorium excavation fees if it is determined to be in the best interest of the town. I think that language at best needs to be changed. I don't think the DPW as a whole should be waiving fees. I think it should either be specified that the superintendent of the DPW reserves the right, or that the superintendent, with the knowledge of the town manager, has the right to waive the fees if it's in the best interest of the town.
So we've actually had this conversation a lot, and I'll throw a grenade in the room and let's see if you guys want to
Or
answer.
remove it completely.
No. Do we have any authority to you set fees, and do we have any any authority to just waive them? If you're
Well, that line
saying,
there-
That does
That
raise a
line's in the
question.
bylaw.
no,
and
of
that
course.
would give
that's
you the
fine.
right.
Right.
And hence, that's one of my.
Right, but waiving fee, just in general. I'm curious as what your thoughts are on terms of waiving fees at all, because they're really, it's like the traffic thing, right? Like there's all these like sort of gray areas where if the planning board wants a certain movement out of a site, they can recommend that, but the council is really in charge of traffic and rules and regs, right? So this is another one for me. If I want to waive a fee, does that seem appropriate from my chair to do so?
It's probably a tricky one. My gut reaction is no,
Right.
but, and knowing how many exemptions there are in Mass General law to things, if there's something else that supersedes us with some of these fees that we're just copy pasting in here, then perhaps.
So I would be curious to know if the DPW superintendent has waived any moratorium fees when a new road goes in.
So I'm sure this was for like DPW jobs, right? Like, so if we had to go do something
Well,
and we're on year 4, we're not going to charge ourselves $1,500 to do the work that needs to be done, right? So
no, it would be a way to
the
increase
reason
their budget.
the reason I ask is interdepartmentally,
Yeah.
we typically waive fees.
Yeah, exactly.
If DPW is asking something from planning or the
Right.
building department, those fees get waived. The high school,
Exactly.
we
So
would
why
have
don't-
we would have had to take out another bond just for application fees, right? And permit fees. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are. And again, I don't think there's a right answer here.
Well, I think
If we add the line in there, we're inviting the question. And that's the only fee that can be waived?
I mean, my thought was that the town doesn't charge itself for doing work.
Mhm.
And that these fees in this schedule is basically when it's an outside company service or whatever, these
Which
are the
we-
fee schedule for
If we
that.
hire a contractor. Because we're busy and we can't do the work, or we don't have the equipment to do the work. And we got to go cut open Maple Street that's 3 years old. We can waive that fee. This is the,
I would be okay with, in a situation like that, with the fee being waived, but I want to make sure that you know that the fees being
Correct.
waived and not just,
point taken with a blanket DPW. That
Yeah.
means
exactly,
anybody can just say, you're good.
right.
right.
And that was my
That
concern.
Fair. That's a fair. Sorry to too far. I took it too far.
No, again, I think was the concern. Well, who in the
Guilty as
DPW is waiving this?
No, that's
is it The
fair.
guy sitting on the lawnmower going, yeah, you're good.
Okay.
More things for the subcommittee to talk about.
Yeah.
Other than that, I had nothing.
Nothing. The ALS 1 emergency, non-emergency transport, that's $2,242.00. I made a James Bond joke there with a 007.
Gotcha.
Apologize.
2242 then. Okay. I got rid of the zero instead of the
That
seven.
was what was approved in the budget. I went back and checked.
Any other discussion on chapter 500? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I make
I
a
make a motion to refer the proposed amendment to chapter 500 fee, fine, and penalty schedule to the bylaw review committee for review and recommendation to the town council.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes,
Great. Thank you all. Next, under new business, we have approving the town manager to solicit request for proposal, RFP, to lease space at 382 North Main Street. Would you like to provide an overview of this, Tom?
Yep, sure. So this is sort of in an effort to line up our lease end dates. Obviously, when we took the building, we inherited everyone's lease. And we have some leases that, one in particular that is coming up before the rest of them. And so this is an effort to extend that to the date that the rest of the leases are at, around 2030. It's like the fall of 2030, spring of 31. Sort of in an effort to keep the building occupied until we're ready to move into it when everyone's gone. The reason that I'm asking for your blessing is, again, our fun gray area of, yes, I'm in charge of town property. However, you took this by eminent domain, and I put the MGL in there. And just to sort of cover all the bases, ask for your blessing to actually put out the RFP. We can't, there's no way to extend the existing lease in any sort of way other than by RFP. That's not as you can imagine, most public transactions do not allow me to just have a conversation with someone in a room about extending a lease or a contract or anything like that. It has to go out to the public. And that's what this RFP would be. Specifically for a use, so that we're not disrupting the integrity of the building by some industrial use or something we don't want there for the rest of our tenants. That was the commercial component of the motion.
If we weren't to do this, do you recall how much of a financial impact it would be either way? Like the lease ending, I know you had mentioned in the past that it would help offset the cost of the building if we extended that.
It would continue to offset the building.
Right.
So if we lost a quarter of the building or slightly more than that, for the rest of, we would have no choice but to sort of redo our plan and get in there. We wouldn't, that would be a waste of space. So we'd have to sort of reorganize quickly to utilize that space. Whereas we can just continue to collect lease payments, pay off that bond, and then everyone's lease will sort of line up so that we'll have a vacant building at a certain date and a plan to move in already in place. So the impact of which would be something like, pardon me, I don't know, $150,000 a year. And obviously the first few years of this bond payment are the biggest at almost $300,000 a year. And then they diminish. So by the time we get to year 6, that $300,000 payment is down to $240,000, down to $170,000, I think, in the last year. Again, with that plan to do a full scale move into the town hall when it's fully vacant and renovated, this would just line our 3 big tenants up to all be done within a few months, just for a cleaner move. And obviously, yes, the financial piece is part of that original decision to line everybody up and move in at that point. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry. Okay.
Do you have comments, Ralph?
So before we go ahead and vote on this, what I'd like to see is the existing leases that we have that were put in place after we took this by eminent domain, what the expected end dates are, if there's any automatic extensions that they can, I know before we took it, there was, where they could re-up for 2 more years or this or that. And then I'd like to see all of that first, so that way we can have some general knowledge going forwards? And then have we done anything looking at the space as far as any design layout plans for when the town occupies the whole building, what the rehab's gonna look like?
Not yet.
Okay, and are we going to look to get a grant to do that?
Yeah, no, I
love
mean,
grants.
again, no, I know you do.
But again, it's one of those, we sort of need to know how much of a renovation
I know.
it's gonna be. I mean, if we're only moving a couple of the interior walls, well, at that point, does it really make sense to put it off for, 4 more years?
Yep.
Or if we gotta gut the whole thing and redo it, to fit everyone correctly. And that's part of my thought process is, I mean, if we can get in to a huge chunk of the building quicker, I'd rather do that, but if that also means that, hey, geez, while we're working in here, these poor guys have to suffer with all this construction work going on because we are gonna plan on doing the whole thing, or the costs are gonna be twice as much because we're doing it piecemeal. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense to the rest of them.
No, it does.
Makes perfect sense. And again, that's sort of the crux of the decision to move the space all the way to 2030 is that gives us time to plan all that out. Whereas we have to have a plan of a space with no tenant that we have to be in March of 27. Which may be plenty of time to move some departments in, but I don't know if that's gonna happen correctly. I don't know if it's gonna make sense. We picked 3 departments to move into the space that was there now, based on how many people were in that department. Not necessarily if it made sense operationally for the town of East Long Meadow. It was, who can we knife into this existing 2,400 square feet with 8x8 exam rooms that people put a desk in.
But I think that's the reason why we need a plan for the building and where everyone's gonna fit. Before we start deciding whether we're gonna push it off, 4 more years or this or that. If we don't have a plan, I mean, because it could be set up to where the bank moves out and these 5 departments move right in and, it doesn't cause any issues with anything else. Without a plan, we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think seeing a plan of like what it would look like if we went forward with this and then we were sort of occupying almost all of the space around that same, the 2030-ish timeframe would be helpful, but also if we didn't, what the idea of the plan could look like in the short term within the next, 2 years, who might move over there if we opted not to go forward with this. I see the financial aspect of it, that it's nice that it would help continue to pay for the building. However, myself personally, I didn't vote yes to going forward with this new town hall building just to become a landlord and have tenants in this space for 10 more years. I did it because the impetus was we said we needed space and we needed something that was ADA accessible, and we wanted everything to be convenient for the residents in one spot. And if we go forward with leasing the space even longer, that's just going to continue the nightmare of people having to go between 2 buildings for at least 5, if not more years, because there's probably going to be construction if you're doing a whole big project then. So 7 years from now, you would then not have to visit the assessor and the collector's office in 2 different buildings.
Yeah.
I don't think that's acceptable from a resident standpoint.
So we'll get an idea of what it would look like to move into that space right now. And then what it would look like in 30 with some sort of approximate pricing and decide then.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
a rough
I think-
idea is,
I think at least getting the length of the leases for right now, And at least that helps us as far as what becomes available when.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
If I remembered right, they like at all different timeframes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like everything within 2 months or.
the north side of the building, the second floor is December 2030. Downstairs is March 31. Westfield Bank is March 27. And then we have the rest of the space, except for Edelman, which is like 1,800 square feet and 2 offices. So that was the point of moving this to line up with half the building. So we're not going to move all the way in with just Westfield. So we're going to still be separated. We'll have some departments now in Westfield space, some upstairs, and the rest at Town Hall. Then in 2030 or whatever, we'll do another reno and move everybody over. And that's what I was saying about trying to do it all at once and doing it right. Because if we do that, inevitably, we're going to end up with piecemeal construction and whatever we end up with. And at the end of the day, realize, whoa, maybe we don't need all this space and take on another tenant. That's not going to happen. But that was my logic for bringing it all the way to 2030. I understand your point about being separated, but if we moved into that 10,000 square feet that is the Westfield Bank, we'd still have departments occupying Old Town Hall. That's just the math of it. Because the other side of the building is 13,000 square feet plus some office space. So, I mean, we have 16,000 that we're occupying now. We're going to try to grab rec. So it's not perfect, but you haven't seen the numbers like I have because I didn't give them to you. So I will. That's fair.
Perfect.
Any other thoughts? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Action items for our next meeting, we will have the second reading of the chapter 500 schedule after we have the bylaw, the council's bylaw subcommittee meeting. Do that.
Which one?
Yeah. And then let's see. June 24th. Yeah, that's all I had on the books at the moment. I'm sure I'm missing something that'll come up, but I think it'll be fairly light.
We don't need to keep anything for next meeting for the veterans. I know you had talked about free cash and that we only have one meeting left if we were going to. I think that's something you
Yes.
and Tom can
Yeah.
decide
Yeah.
beforehand.
And you had asked, and I will forward that email from the architect. We got it after hours. I was at the library party and with everyone else for summer reading kickoff. And, but I will forward that to you, shortly.
Yes, if the town manager submits something to the council, we will put it on the agenda.
You guys reading the good book for the summer?
Always.
Okay, at this time, we'll move to our executive session. So I will move to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body and the chair so declares, and I do, regarding Constance Broaders versus the town of East Long Meadow, and return to open session.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes.
Okay, we are in executive session at 7:27. We are now back in open session at 8:03. And I move that we appropriate $55,000 from free cash for the settlement regarding Constance Broaders versus the town of East Long Meadow and approving the town manager to settle the litigation.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
and Anna.
Yes.
Motion passes. And then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Any other discussion? Saying none. Jim?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And Anna.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 8:04. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.